MSW Media.
News with swearing. Daily beans, daily beans. Daily beans, daily beans.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Beans for Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. Today, Disney bucks ABC and says it will return Jimmy Kimmel to the air tonight. Insurance attorney and Trump's personal lawyer, Lindsey Halligan, has been installed as the interim U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia. Zohran Mamdani canceled a local ABC town hall, citing FCC censorship of Jimmy Kimmel. The Supreme Court is allowing Trump to fire a member of the Federal Trade Commission board for the pendency of the litigation, and a win for voting rights. And Arizona Republican voter suppression laws will stay blocked. I'm Allison Gill.
And I'm Dana Goldberg.
Hey, happy, what is it, Tuesday? I don't even know anymore.
I actually don't know either. It's Monday. Well, we're recording on Monday. It always messes me up. Recording Monday. You're listening on Tuesday. And listen, something big happened today, which is confusing because Allison and I might be the only people left.
Right. If you're listening to this, congratulations. You made it through the rapture.
Oh, there's more of us. There's more of us. Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
Yes, you've been left behind. Free shoes and cars for everybody.
Woohoo, you get a car, and you get a car, and you get shoes.
Also, the Kilmer Abrego hearing that was supposed to be this Friday that we talked about with Adam Klossfeld yesterday on the show, it's actually been canceled. It was just a regular status update, as Adam Klossfeld said, as you know, when we spoke yesterday, that he didn't know if they were going to address some of the outstanding motions like vindictive and selective prosecution. But they have canceled that. The next hearing is in November, and he'll be at that hearing, Adam Klossfeld, in November.
All right. And not to give dire news right now, but there's a poll out that says that the number of people who think the economy is going to get worse, it's gone from 25% last September to 61% today. That's a jump.
Oh. So a couple of months before the election, only a quarter of Americans thought the economy was going to get worse. And now it's almost 2/3.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. And remember when the super conservative Fifth Circuit said that the Alien Enemies Act, Donald Trump's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act, was unlawful because there's no predatory incursion or invasion?
Yeah.
Well, Donald Trump has now asked for an en banc rehearing from the entire Fifth Circuit panel, which is extremely conservative, because he doesn't like that finding. So we'll keep an eye on that for you as well.
All right. Thanks, Allison.
Yeah, all right, everybody. Time for the hot notes. Hot notes. All right, first up from NBC, Jimmy Kimmel's late night show will return to ABC's airwaves on Tuesday, tonight, nearly a week after it was suspended amid criticism of the host's remarks about the assassination, I don't call it that, of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Quote, last Wednesday, this is Disney, we made the decision to suspend the production of the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. That's what Disney said. On Monday, they went on to say, it is a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive.
I call bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We didn't realize an avalanche of human beings would cancel their subscriptions, I think is what they meant to say.
We didn't know we were going to lose $4 billion in 48 hours.
Yeah, it was closer to like 1.2 billion, but yeah, just so many people canceling. They went on to say, we have spent the last days having a thoughtful conversation with Jimmy. And after those conversations, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. Now, ABC pulled the show Wednesday after the Federal Communications Commission chair, Brendan Carr, threatened to revoke ABC's affiliate license over Kimmel's comments, which he described in a podcast interview as the sickest conduct possible.
Possible. Wow, that's a statement.
Yeah. So not revoking Fox's FCC license for Kilmeade, saying that we should summarily, involuntarily execute unhoused people by lethal injection. But Jimmy Kimmel saying that MAGA's trying to pin this on anybody but themselves. That's the bridge too far. We could do this the easy way or the hard way, right? Now, Nexstar and Sinclair, two companies that own ABC affiliate stations across the U.S., announced they would preempt Kimmel's show. And preempting is television speak for replace. ABC followed suit, saying they would preempt the show indefinitely. Now, in his monologue last Monday, Kimmel criticized what he called the MAGA gang, saying that they're desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. And that's true. That is not saying the shooter was MAGA. That is saying that MAGA is trying to pin it on anybody but themselves. Those are two different statements, I think. The following day, authorities in Utah said that the man accused of shooting Kirk started to lean more left in recent months and targeted Kirk for his political expression. But in a related story from NBC, they said there has been no connection at all to left-wing groups. And New York City Democratic mayoral nominee Zohran Mamdani said Monday he withdrew from a local ABC town hall in protest of the network's decision to suspend Jimmy Kimmel. Mamdani blasted the cowardice of the network's parent company Disney in its decision to pull Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air indefinitely in the wake of pressure from the Trump administration. The WABC town hall that Mamdani was set to participate in was scheduled for Thursday. NBC New York, by the way, is scheduled to host the mayoral debate on October 16th, probably going to be the most watched New York City mayoral debate in history. So I'll be watching. And since Disney said it was returning Kimmel to ABC, Mamdani responded on social media. He said last week, Disney and ABC caved to the Trump administration pressure. Millions of Americans helped them find their backbone. Whether you watch Jimmy Kimmel or not, today's decision is a victory for free speech. We have reached out to WABC to reschedule the town hall. So it looks like he's going to try to reschedule that now that Jimmy Kimmel's back on the air.
All right, sounds good. And this is from CNN. You remember that very impeachable social media post to Pam, as he calls her so sweetly. Lindsey Halligan, a White House aide and a fierce ally of President Trump, has taken over as the top federal prosecutor in Virginia's Eastern District. That's according to a person familiar with the change. Halligan assumed the office days after her predecessor, Eric Seiber, was pushed out of the job amid public pressure to indict one of Trump's political enemies. That would be New York Attorney General Tish James. Seiber was also overseeing the investigation into whether FBI Director James Comey lied in testimony before Congress, which statute of limitations is up, I think, in like a second.
September 30th.
Yeah. Halligan's appointment puts another of Trump's personal attorneys in position of legal power, running an office that has been tasked to head high-profile investigations that the president has publicly demanded action in. The Eastern District of Virginia faced a push from the White House under Seiber to bring charges against James, despite a conclusion that the 5-month investigation into whether the New York Attorney General committed mortgage fraud had not yet yielded enough evidence to indict her.
Or any evidence.
Halligan was one of Trump's close legal advisors in recent years, but has no experience as a prosecutor. None. She worked as one of his attorneys during the initial investigation into whether Trump was illegally keeping classified documents in his Mar-a-Lago estate, specifically in the shower. And he was. Trump praised her for the work in a social media post announcing her appointment over the weekend, writing that she, and I quote, represented me. We won in the disgraceful documents hoax. And that's not at all what happened. Judge Eileen Cannon came in and basically dismissed the whole thing. No one won that fucking case. Okay. Trump didn't win, by the way. As I said, that special master case, he lost it. He lost
badly.
It. Yeah. The White House had placed Maggie Cleary, who they call her, a conservative lawyer who has said she was falsely accused of being at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th during the insurrection, in charge of the office over the weekend until Halligan could be sworn in. So that seems like a horrible person to be holding that right now.
Why wouldn't you want to have been at the Capitol on January 6th? It was just a peaceful day of protests.
They just went to the gift shop. Gift shop happened to be closed. They got angry. Trump also tasked Halligan earlier this year with rooting out, quote, woke ideology and what the White House considers anti-American propaganda at the Smithsonian, otherwise known as Facts and History. Halligan echoed the president's claims last month, telling Fox News in an interview that Smithsonian museums have a, quote, overemphasis on slavery. By mentioning it at all. That's too much.
Do you think they should have that in the Black History Museum, though?
I mean, you would think. And I quote, we should be able to take our kids, our students through the Smithsonian and feel proud when we leave. That's what Halligan said. There's a lot of history to our country, both positive and negative, but we need to keep moving forward. We can't just keep focusing on the negative. All it does is divide us. That pesky 400 years of slavery. Why would we focus on that?
Why would we want to learn from our mistakes?
I can't with these people.
Oh, my God. All right. Next up from the Post, the Supreme Court Monday cleared the way for Trump to fire the sole remaining Democrat on the Federal Trade Commission, the latest victory in his aggressive push to exert greater control over the federal bureaucracy. The justices overturned a lower court injunction that reinstated Rebecca Slaughter to her position with the agency that oversees antitrust and consumer protection issues, while litigation over her removal works its way through the courts. Antitrust, like monopolies, like meaning owning too many ABC affiliates, or Skydance Paramount wanting to merge with Warner. Oh my God, now I think that's all FCC regulated, but still, that's got to be somewhere in the antitrust laws. This ruling, it's provisional, but it's significant because the High Court also said it will hear arguments on overturning a 90-year-old precedent that allowed Congress to set up independent, nonpartisan agencies insulated from political interference if they do not wield executive power. Now, in 1935, the justices ruled that President Franklin D. Roosevelt could not fire a member of the FTC board, William Humphrey, simply because he opposed the president's New Deal policies. Congress had stipulated members could only be fired for inefficiency, neglect of duty, or malfeasance. That case, you've probably heard it, it's known as Humphrey's executor. The current Supreme Court has all but overturned that precedent in recent rulings. The justices allowed Trump to fire Democratic members of the Consumer Product Safety Commission in July, and members of the National Labor Relations Board, Glenn Wilcox, and Merit Systems Protection Board in May, Kathy Harris. Trump gave no reason for the officials' dismissals, despite statutes saying they could only be removed for cause. Quote, because the Constitution vests in the executive power in the president, the majority wrote in May, he may remove without cause executive officers who exercise that power on his behalf, subject to narrow exceptions recognized by our precedents. Another case involving Trump's bid to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook is expected to make its way to the High Court soon. Trump fired Cook in August, claiming she had committed mortgage fraud. Cook sued, denying any wrongdoing and asserting the allegations were a pretext to get rid of her so Trump could push the Fed to lower interest rates. A federal appeals court has reinstated Cook for the time being. Trump dismissed Slaughter and the second Democratic member of the five-member FTC, Alvaro Badaya, in March. Slaughter and Badaya filed a lawsuit soon after, saying the president had overstepped his authority. Badaya eventually resigned from the commission. In July, a federal judge ruled for Slaughter, saying Trump had illegally dismissed her. A divided appeals court found that the president removed Slaughter without cause, which is illegal under the Humphreys executor precedent. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts, Mr. I can't believe the leopards are eating my judiciary, issued a temporary ruling this month allowing Trump to remove Slaughter while the High Court was deciding whether to act in her case. So 90 years of precedent overturned. And you'll remember, Dana, in that Wilcox-Kathy Harris case, the National Labor Relations Board, Merit Systems Protection Board case, the court said, yeah, the president can remove these folks, but not members of the Federal Reserve. They are separate and different. So the Lisa Cook case is going to be harder.
Good. I hope it is. I do have a little bit of better news. This is from Democracy Docket. 2 restrictive GOP-backed Arizona voting laws. They're going to remain blocked after a vote by a federal appeals court on Monday. A majority of the judges on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, they voted against rehearing the case in which a panel ruled in February that the 2 laws were, and I quote, unlawful measures of voter suppression. In 2022, Arizona passed a pair of voter suppression statutes that then Governor Doug Ducey signed into law. House Bill 2492 would require voters to provide documentary proof of citizenship, otherwise known as DPOC, when voting for the president or by mail, even if they registered using the federal registration form, which does not require DPOC. Voters who registered before the law was enacted had to retroactively show DPOC to cast a ballot. House Bill 2243 would require county elected officials to cancel someone's registration if they have, and I quote, reason to believe, just reason to believe the person isn't a U.S. citizen. That sounds like profiling by last names. In Arizona, voters may register using either the federal form or a state application, which requires DPOC. Before HB 2492, voters who use the federal form without showing that proof were allowed to vote for federal offices, but not in state or local elections. Despite GOP claims, non-citizen voting is exceedingly rare. a database of non-citizen voting and other voting frauds incidents they maintained by the Heritage Foundation. It still only shows that there's less than 100 cases since 1982. This is a foundation that is trying to manipulate this, and only less than 100 cases since 1982. The laws were quickly challenged in court by Arizona voters, pro-voting groups, and the Department of Justice during Joe Biden's administration. And the cases were consolidated into one lawsuit. Well, the federal district court enjoined enforcement of HB 2243 during the 2022 midterms, and then they struck down key provisions of both laws in 2023 and 2024's decisions. Those rulings, what they did was they kept Arizona officials from demanding proof of citizenship in federal elections. The Republican National Committee joined state GOP lawmakers to appeal the lower court decision to the Ninth Circuit. Well, the Ninth Circuit denied the Republicans' petition to stay the lower court's ruling during the 2024 elections in August, but the Supreme Court soon after granted a partial pause, effectively requiring newly registered voters only, not previously registered voters, to provide the DPOC. Republicans can now appeal the February decision to the Supreme Court. While State Senate President Warren Peterson, who's a Republican, did not immediately respond to a request for comment, he did promise to appeal to the Supreme Court after the Ninth Circuit handed down its decision in February. Peterson led the Arizona Senate's Judiciary Committee when the chamber launched its shambolic audit of 2.1 million ballots cast in Maricopa County in 2020.
Oh, the Crazy Times Carnival.
Yep. The firm hired by the Senate cyber ninjas later released a report that confirmed the ballot count while making a number of claims that were subsequently all disproven. Under the terms of the partial stay, the provision of Arizona law, it requires new restraints to show DPOC. It will remain in place until the court either takes the case and issues a judgment or declines to take the case at all.
Well, good job, Democracy Docket.
Yep, well done.
Well done. All right, everybody, we do have good trouble today, but it's going to be up first in the good news, so stick around. We'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey, everybody. Overpaying for wireless is so last year. It is time to get with the times and jump over to Mint Mobile. Their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, and absolutely no BS. I want to thank Mint Mobile for supporting this episode. Make the switch at mintmobile.com/dailybeans. Most wireless services are overpriced with high monthly bills, unexpected overages, countless hidden fees. But with Mint Mobile, plans start at just $15 a month and come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text, all delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You even get to keep your own phone and your own phone number and all your contacts with any Mint Mobile plan. So that's awesome. One of our producers just gave it a try. He had an old unlocked Android phone sitting around in a drawer. So he signed up, got his new SIM card. It arrived in just a couple of days. He set it up. It was effortless. For the first time, he had a second phone line. Very cool. Now he's using it to more safely sign up for right-wing apps. Just kidding. He's even planning to run a little experiment on his mom to see if she'll give personal information to a fake number. Just for $15 a month. All of that can be yours. So if you're ready to say yes to saying no, make the switch at mintmobile.com/dailybeans. That's mintmobile.com/dailybeans. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Hey, everybody, ever walk into the store, stare at the wall of wine, and walk out more confused than when you went in? Me too. But Naked Wines is here. Naked Wines is a service that directly connects you to the world's finest independent winemakers so you can get award-winning wine delivered straight to your door. So please join us in thanking Naked Wines for supporting our show. Go to nakedwines.com/dailybeans and use our code DAILYBEANS for the code and the password to get their incredible deal of 6 bottles for just $39.99. One of the last bottles I served was a Mike Patterson barrel fermented Sauvignon Blanc, 2022. This bottle of wine came with a nice crisp flavor. It still had a smooth and creamy finish. It was the perfect bottle of wine to complement our evening and exactly what we were looking for. Naked Wines never fails to satisfy. Naked Wines makes choosing wines easy. Instead of wandering the aisle, not knowing what to pick, going by the label like I always do, I get incredible bottles delivered straight to my door. The variety is very impressive. The quality never disappoints, and guests always ask where I found the wine, and I love telling them it came directly from independent winemakers supported by Naked Wines. For 15 years, over 15 years now, Naked Wines has made premium wine accessible at prices that make sense, up to 60% off retail. Plus, I can rate the bottles afterwards, so every shipment is tailored to my crowd. Hosting is more fun than ever with Naked Wines in the mix. So now's the time to join the Naked Wines community. Head to nakedwines.com/dailybeans, click enter voucher, and put in my code dailybeans for the code and the password for 6 bottles of wine for just $39.99 with shipping included. That's $100 off your first 6 bottles at nakedwines.com/dailybeans and use code and password dailybeans for 6 bottles of wine for $39.99. You'll be glad you did. All right, everybody, welcome back. It's time for the good news.
Who likes good news, everyone? Then good news, everyone.
And if you have any good news, any little good thing that's happened to you ever in the history of always, please send it to us.
Please.
We need to microdose hope. We really, really need it right now. So send it to us. You can also give a shout out maybe to a parent or a kid or a loved one, a spouse, a small business in your area that could use a boost, maybe a nonprofit that you're really proud to work with or that you've seen their work and you want to amplify it. We'd love to hear about that. Maybe you have a shout out to a government program like the Affordable Care Act subsidies, which are about to balloon because they're going to expire at the end of this year. Or, something like WIC or SNAP, any government program, student debt relief that's helped you or a loved one. We'd love to hear about that. And all you got to do to get your submission read on the air is pay your pod pet tariff, which really at this point means just attach a photo of anything. It can be your pet, and we're happy to try to guess the breeds in your shelter pup, but we're not very good at it. We did get one right yesterday, though.
Yes, we did.
Or you can attach an adoptable pet in your area. We'll see if we can find him a home. If you don't have that, really just grab an animal photo off the internet. We also accept family photos, awkward family photos. Baby pictures, your baby pictures, if you have them, we would love to see them. Maybe a picture of your garden. What are you growing? What are you knitting? What are you painting? What are you crocheting? We would love to see what you're making or creating. So send it all to us, dailybeanspod.com, and click on contact. First up, Good Trouble Betsy. This is your Good Trouble. So Betsy says, you want 2 easy good trouble things to do immediately? Write both of your senators this morning, asking them to please keep Senator Schumer from caving into the Republican Party's new funding bill. Second good trouble is to wear a paperclip. I'm making a paperclip necklace because a paperclip doesn't work well on my obnoxious t-shirts that I wear constantly. Norwegians wore a paperclip during World War II to symbolize resistance to the Nazis. Now it's our turn. Subtle but great. I'm also putting a few paper clips on the sign of my apartment door and suggesting that everybody look up paper clips in World War II. For my podcast tariff, I'm attaching a picture of my favorite animals, well, except for my dog, penguins. These ones are living in South Africa. Look at these babies.
They're so sweet.
I love penguins so
Me too.
very much.
Me too.
Great, good trouble. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for kicking us off. This is from Brianna, pronouns she and they. Hey, Queens of the Beans. I wanted to shout out my parents for a few reasons. One, they let us borrow their vehicle and camper on their 50th anniversary weekend, and then they had to come to our rescue via text Saturday morning when we had accidentally drained the car battery and couldn't even get in with the car fob and had very little phone service. They were able to get us access to physical key within the fob, and that was the key to everything else. No broken windows or AAA help needed. Just helpful park staff with a jump pad and my husband also maintaining his cool when I couldn't give him good directions for backing into the campsite. We only camp once a year, and this is the first time with the camper. If Sven the ghost doesn't mess with the photos, they are from our hike, the panorama painting that is as long as the Empire State Building is tall. And a fall color photo of Lila. I'm taking photos every few days of her and our other golden to see the color changes.
Oh.
I'm assuming of the trees and not the dogs. I imagine the dogs aren't changing colors as quickly as the trees.
Oh my goodness. That's beautiful, by the way, the red leaves on the tree there. And
it's
that panorama
extraordinary
photo.
that this scroll is as long as the Empire State Building is tall.
I'm curious about Sven the ghost. Is this a haunted area that I'm supposed to know who Sven the ghost is?
Or they're just making reference to every once in a while our pictures disappear?
And they've
named that person Sven?
It could be. It could be. I don't know. But thank you so much, Brianna, for your submission. Next up, atheist Eagle Scout, no pronouns. Glorious purveyors of news. I'll let you determine if this is news, a shout out, or something else. This weekend was our fall get together for the local Scouts Honor Camping and Service Organization, the Order of the Arrow. I teach native inspired beadwork. And this year there was an unusually active participation. So much so that I wasn't able to do the finishing work for the Scouts. The normal process is for them to do the beadwork and then I finish the final project. But I had so many that I wasn't able to finish everything, which I'm doing right after I send this good news, by the way. During one of the discussions I had with an even older Scout leader was his retelling of the news he encountered on a recent trip to Europe. He was told that the Orange Menace's trip to England wasn't what we thought it was. The American news was all about how he was welcomed by the royal family and such. But what was lost in our reporting was the actual shade that was thrown President McCankles. He was received at Windsor Castle, the summer home of the royal family, not Buckingham Palace, where world leaders are received. Think back to when Obama was received by Queen Elizabeth. That was done at Buckingham. Having the reception for FDT at Windsor Castle was actually a mechanism for them to show a level of disrespect by not having him where real world leaders are received.
That's amazing.
We didn't hear about that here in the United States.
Nope.
That story alone made me feel good, but that wasn't the end. Last year, I realized that we attend summer camp in June and that it would be good to celebrate Pride Month while there. Since last June, I'd been working on creating a collection of beadwork projects to be able to donate to allies and members of the LGBTQIA+ community. This weekend, I had a scout who was trying to find his place on the spectrum of LGBTQIA+, and he made his own beadwork. I'm finishing it up shortly to mail it to him. But when his mom was there, I pulled her aside to ask if she was in the community or an ally. I then gave her the beaded pride shoulder loops, the epaulets, for her to give to him. The next time I saw the loops, they were already on his uniform, and his mother said how touched she was and how touched he was. I've been doing the beadwork for over 15 years, and I always feel good when the Scouts enjoy their work, but this gift made me feel especially good, and I look forward to creating more good. Enclosed as an example, and for Pod Pet Tariff, I present my bestest boys, Buster and Bear, from 4 years ago when they were puppies. Buster, the tricolor, succumbed to lymphoma back in July, and we miss him dearly. Thank you for all you do. Look at these epaulets. Look at this beadwork.
Oh, it's beautiful. My goodness. Are we guessing?
Do we get to
they
guess
look like
what
beagles?
the beagles
Beagle
are? Yeah.
dachshunds?
Normally, we have, like, when the good news photo comes in, they'll be like, our producer will put little stars so we can't see what the answers are to the dog breeds. So if we see them, that's our clue. If we see those little stars, that's our clue that we need to guess the dog breeds. But these clearly
They look like beagles.
are beagles. Yep, beagles. Yes,
Dun, dun, dun. Thank you for the
They
easy
are
one. It
beagles.
makes us feel better.
indeed.
Thank you so much for that incredible submission. This is from Will, pronouns he and him. This good news is a shout out to both my mom and John Fugelsang. Recently, my mom got an eye exam and a new pair of glasses for the first time in a very long time. Since she could finally see well enough to read again, she decided to get a new book from the bookstore next door. That book, Separation of Church and Hate by John Fugelsang. All it took was about 10 pages and she was hooked. She bought the book and she took it with her on vacation. I hope she loved the rest of the book as much as she loved those first few pages. For my pod pet tax, a bee. This is my first year planting sunflowers and it's a hit with the local bees. I will absolutely plant an even larger bed next year. Thanks for being the queens of the beans and swearing.
I love this. Didn't we get a bumblebee fuzzy butt yesterday as well?
We sure did.
Oh, amazing. Look at this one. I love them. I want to pet them. I wish they were huge and I could snuggle them and they wouldn't eat me. All right, next up from Anonymous, pronouns she and her. Hi, AG, DG, and crew. Thanks for your amazing work. I'd like to shout out Indivisible Regent Square in Pittsburgh. At my first meeting a few weeks ago, I found a group of over 50 people doing the daily work of democracy, educating each other, organizing, and taking pro-democracy action on overpasses, street corners, and sidewalks all around the city multiple days each week, in addition to the bigger No Kings rallies. I was blown away. Part of the reason I went is that I'm a physician, and I don't feel my training prepared me to be a good advocate, ally, and community member in this moment, so I'm trying to learn new skills. I explained this to one of the organizers after the meeting, and she immediately said, quote, I'm one of your council people and a social worker, and I'll put you in the physician group that I've organized.
Nice.
So, in case any of your listeners are in a similar situation, see if you have a local Indivisible chapter who's willing to train you. Finally, I'll submit pod pet tariffs of the cats who own me next time. For now, I'm submitting a crafting photo because I thought you'd get a kick out of the whole story. I learned to crochet during the pandemic from a bunch of kind souls who teach crochet on YouTube. I found this free pattern of an anatomical skull, which was created by an Australian doctoral student who loves science and wanted to share its joy, and maybe procrastinating from finishing a thesis. See anatomicalcrochet.com, by the way. It was going to be a major stretch, but I wanted to challenge myself, and she was wonderfully gracious when I needed help and made me feel like part of a global crafting community. I gifted it to a friend who could not have been more delighted to add it to her collection of bespoke skulls. Bespoke skulls.
This is very cool.
That's incredible. Thank you so much. Yeah, everybody check out your local Indivisible chapter. There's so much to do.
All right, we've got another submission from Ed, pronouns he and him. Hello, Beans Queens. Thanks for everything you do for our communities. You're truly a bright light in these hours of darkness. I've only been listening for about a year and regret having not listened sooner. I enjoy hearing your good news segments, so I thought I would share some of my own. My son joined the Army just in time for deployment in Afghanistan. Thank you for his service. Although I didn't want him to join the military, he chose to do it so, and as a family, we supported his decision. We attended the graduation from boot camp. We sent him care packages during his year at, is it FOB or FOB? At FOB?
In
Fallujah, Iraq.
Fallujah. Yeah, I'm not sure.
The majority of Americans will never know the sleepless nights of wondering if your child will make it home safe from combat, but I'm thankful for that. When he got home, he had a difficult time adjusting, mostly because of the things he had witnessed and done. He spent 4.5 years on the streets of our newest major city, and I would search for him before I went to work in the morning. Sorry. To give him some money and cigarettes. It seemed as though the nightmare of drug addiction would never end when he finally caught a break. Ravaged by his pain and addiction, the VA hospital in West Roxbury, Massachusetts, gave him a year to mend. He had open heart surgery for a valve replacement from the bacteria that doctors told us should have killed him. He was able to take the time to mend his body and spirit and remember who he was, and I think everyone deserves that opportunity. This year, we celebrated 10 years of sobriety with him. Today, he has 2 beautiful daughters, a dog, and a life that he's very proud of. I'd like people to know that our institutions, especially our VA, are more than worthy of our support. The endless onslaught of privatizing public programs and services can seem impenetrable at times, but it hasn't stopped good people from doing their job and being concerned for others. I wish for us all to have the same support system my son was able to find, a system where the concern for life comes before everything else. In the meantime, I'll enjoy the moments I've been afforded. Thank you, Beans Queens. And as Pod Pet Tax, I humbly submit our princess, Lady Daisy Marie, all English setter that was the runt of the litter. We didn't know when we got her, but she has allergies that prevented her from growing hair and enjoying her life. Turns out that a dandruff shampoo was enough to turn her life around, and she spent the majority of her years really enjoying herself. As with most purebreds, she fought cancer and then made her way over the Rainbow Bridge. She's forever in our hearts and will always be remembered as being the perfect dog and full of spirit. Stay strong, work hard, rest when needed, and get back in the fight when you can. Looking forward to the day when fascism is beaten back to the hole it climbed out of and our government isn't weaponized against us. Thank you for that submission, and I am so grateful, Ed, that your son is thriving and doing well. And again, thank you for his service. I have friends that their fate was not as successful in their fight against the trauma experienced in Afghanistan and Iraq. I'm so grateful that he's still with us. And I thank you for sharing his story.
Yeah, Ed, wow. Thank you so much. And big shout out to the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Absolutely.
And you for going out and trying to see him when he was out on the streets. And then, I'm so glad that he's back.
Too.
Look at these beautiful doggos.
So sweet.
Oh my goodness. Amazing. Well, everybody, thank you so much for sharing your good news stories with us. That was truly incredible. If you have any good news you want to share with us, any little thing at all, it could have happened 10 years ago. It doesn't really matter. We would love to hear from you. You can send it to us at dailybeanspod.com and click on contact. That's the show for today. Really appreciate you listening. Dana, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I do not.
All right. We're going to be back in your ears tomorrow. Until then, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take care of the planet, take care of your mental health, and take care of your family. I've been AG.
I've been DG.
And them's the beans. The Daily Beans is written and executive produced by Allison Gill with additional research and reporting by Dana Goldberg. Sound design and editing is by Desiree McFarlane, with art and web design by Joelle Reeder with Moxie Design Studios. Music for The Daily Beans is written and performed by They Might Be Giants, and the show is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, please visit mswmedia.com. MSW Media.